Hi, Mike with Nerd Problems Gaming here, and today's video will be covering another huge Steam sale and 10 more great games worth buying, so let's get into it. The first game on today's list is Stray, and this is a unique platforming puzzle game where you'll play through a futuristic dystopian world as a cat that's been separated from its family and who teams up with a drone and goes on a journey to reunite with their family. And the game isn't solely platforming, it has kind of a combination of several genres in it where you have puzzle elements, platforming, even a variety of chase scenes, a main storyline, plenty of side quests, and an engaging narrative to keep you engaged along the way. Now I will say I don't think that the game is overly challenging, but it is a really fun world to explore, and it's really cool to actually play through a video game fully as a cat. And so I think if you like action platformers with a puzzle element, this game's worth checking out. The next game is Neon White. Now this is a unique game that's really a mashup of several different genres, and it plays like a first-person time trial action platformer mixed with a deck builder, mixed with a visual novel. And so you'll play as Neon White, a demon hunter that's trapped in purgatory in hopes of redeeming himself after a life of crime. Now the game is very fast-paced, and you'll need to quickly navigate challenging terrains, jumping over gaps, defeating enemies, and racing your way to the finish. And along the way, you'll find different cards that can unlock abilities for your characters. So some of them are weapon cards, others are more ability-based and can unlock things like dashes and double jumps. And you'll need to string these together strategically in order to finish the levels as fast as possible. It's a really unique concept, and if you like what you see, I'd recommend checking it out. The next game is Indiana Jones and the Great Circle. Now this is an action-adventure game that's set in the Indiana Jones universe, and it has a similar feel to the recently rebooted Tomb Raider series from a few years ago. And you'll play as Indiana Jones on a new adventure as he explores the world, chasing down ancient mysteries and taking on evil fascists as they both hunt for the secret of the Great Circle. And so it's really engaging and has incredibly addictive gameplay, and it feels like an open world, and you'll adventure through a few main areas throughout the game, starting off in the Vatican, moving on to exploring ancient Egypt, and much more. Now the game is packed with tons of secrets, and you'll be diving into ancient crypts, exploring hidden ruins, and uncovering the secrets behind the Great Circle. The game also has some action RPG elements where over time you'll be able to upgrade your health and stamina. You'll be able to find books hidden around the world, and this can teach Indiana new abilities. It has a really fun narrative, and if you're fans of the Indiana Jones series, I would definitely recommend it. And the game is very long as well. I would definitely say you could sink at least 40 hours into this game, depending on how much of a completionist you are. And so if you like action-adventure games, I would definitely recommend it. The next game is the King of Fighters 15. Now this is the latest entry in the long-running King of Fighters series from SNK, and it features many of the classic fighters, such as those featured from the Fatal Fury series like Terry Bogard, Joe Higashi, Mai, and much more. It has a huge roster of characters from the SNK universe, and a lot of new entries to this game specifically as well. It has really fast-paced fighting action with an arcade feel that's simple to pick up and play but incredibly difficult to master. It features several different game modes like a versus mode, a story mode, one-on-one fighting, three-on-three fighting, online matchmaking, casual matches, ranked matches, and much more. And I think if you're looking for a great modern fighting game, I'd recommend checking this one out as well. The next game is Monster Train. Now Monster Train is an addictive roguelike deck builder with a unique feel that's similar to Slay the Spire, but with a twist. And so in this game, you'll be on a train bound through the 9 realms of hell as you face off against the agents of heaven in order to try and restore the flames after hell is frozen over. And you'll need to defeat these agents of heaven if you hope to restore hell to its former glory. Now throughout each run, you'll control 2 different factions of demon monsters, and each have their own unique cards and deck style and play style, and even have multiple champions that represent each one of these factions. And each of these champions plays a little bit different. And there's that extra layer of strategy of combining these two decks together to have them play off each other effectively. Now, as you progress throughout each level, you'll be earning new cards, upgrading existing cards, acquiring artifacts that add additional powers to your team. And the combat is a little bit unique in the sense that there's 3 layers of this train. In each turn, you can be placing creatures on each layer, and after each round, enemies that are still left alive will climb up to the next layer of the train. And at the very top, you have your pyre, basically your source of health, and if that goes out, you lose the run. And so you'll need to be defeating these enemies as well as often bosses that are all focused on the goal of extinguishing your pyre. After each run, you can also upgrade your characters and the champions that you're playing as, unlocking more powerful cards and increasing their abilities further. The game is a lot of fun, and if you like roguelike deck builders, I would definitely recommend it. The next game is Die in the Dungeon. Now, this game is another roguelike deck building game, but again, it's similar in style to Slay the Spire or many other deck building games, but it also has another unique twist, making it feel like another great entry in the genre. And so throughout your run, you won't be collecting cards. Instead, you'll be collecting dice, and you'll need to place these throughout a grid in order to activate abilities like attacking your enemy, healing your characters, and much more. But one thing that's definitely unique is that each one of these dice also have side abilities associated with them. And depending on where you place these die on the grid, it can activate additional abilities, powering up your character to help you defeat enemies. So if you pair some dice next to each other, for example, it might boost the attack damage or multiply it, or maybe it heals your character, or potentially stacks damage. Again, there's a lot of options that can happen and a lot of cool combinations as well. Another neat factor is that enemies can also impact the grid and your dice and how you're placing them, kind of creating status effects potentially on certain areas of the play field. And so you'll need to strategically place your die in order to overcome those additional challenges as well. I think if you like turn-based RPG, deck builders, and addictive gameplay, I'd recommend this one as well. The next game is Dicefolk. Now, Dicefolk is a strategic roguelike deck building RPG that has some press your luck elements and a unique twist on combat. And so you'll play as a hero that can control monsters, and the land has been overrun by them, and you go on a quest to save the world and stop these evil monsters before it's too late. And so it has almost a little bit of a Pokemon feel to it, where you start off with a base monster, and as you progress, you can acquire more and build out a team of 3 monsters, and you'll take on enemies as well. And so this is where a bit of the press your luck element comes in, where you do just start with that one monster, and then you can acquire more along the way, but you have the opportunity to push your team further and further before acquiring additional monsters in hopes of potentially getting stronger ones. But again, it comes at the risk of potentially dying at the same time. Another unique element to this is the combat, where all of the die are rolled at once and you can see your dice and the enemy dice at the same time. And then it's up to you to choose which order these dice activate, not only your own dice, but the enemy dice as well. And so turns will go back and forth utilizing these die. And again, you want your team to be the last one surviving. And so it's a cool concept. And again, if you like deck building games, if you like turn-based RPGs, I would recommend this one as well. The next game is The Medium. Now, this is a unique survival horror game that puts you in control of Marianne, a young medium, and you'll need to solve puzzles to survive. And you'll really need to balance between the real world and the spirit world in solving unique puzzles, as these two worlds work in parallel of each other, often forcing you to solve puzzles in a split screen fashion, where half of the world you're controlling yourself in the real world and the other half you're walking through the spirit world. Now, besides the puzzle elements, there's some stealth elements to the game as well. Kind of almost felt like the Nemesis scenes in the Resident Evil series, where you're running and hiding from these massive beasts. And there's even some fast-paced chase scenes thrown in the mix as well. Now, it is more of a psychological thriller, versus more action-based like a game like Resident Evil. So there isn't really combat in the game. Again, it's more survival-based and puzzle solving and utilizing this unique twist of the real world and spirit world intertwining with each other. And so again, you'll play through this game trying to unravel the mystery of Marianne's spirit powers, how they came to be, all while trying to unravel the mysteries of her past. And so I think if you like the survival horror genre, I'd recommend this one as well. The next game is Dungeon Clawler. Now this is another interesting roguelike deck building game that features a unique claw game mechanic centered around the core of the gameplay. And so your goal of the game is to choose a hero and navigate through a 20-floor dungeon and make it out alive. Throughout the game, you'll be upgrading your hero, collecting new elements to your deck, but instead of using cards like a standard deck building game, you'll get little items that add to your deck, and then you'll put them in the base of this claw machine game. And so each turn you'll have two options to grab a handful of items, or I should say try and grab a handful of items with this claw machine and then bring them out to use them for your character. And so it's a pretty cool concept in that alone, but then there's also a really cool twist where you can transmute some of these items over time, adding different properties to the items. So for example, you can transmute some of these to metal items, and one of the status effects that enemies might do to your claw machine is fill it full of water. And so these metal items will sink, making it much harder to grab them and bring them out for your character to use. There's also even other cool elements where you might be able to electrify these metal items, for example, dealing additional damage to enemies. And so there's all kinds of cool options like this where you can transmute these items, unleash unique powers, and this all plays into the strategy as you try and defeat enemies. Not only that, there's a lot of different playable character types you can play as, and this will switch up your abilities and gameplay as well. And so again, I think if you like claw games or deck building games or turn-based RPGs and addictive gameplay, this one's worth checking out as well. The final game on today's list is Inkbound. Now Inkbound is a tactical turn-based RPG with some roguelike elements, and the game takes place in a fantasy world where the written word has become an evil, dangerous magic and it's coming to life, and you go on a quest to save the world. And the combat takes place in more of an arena combat setting, and so you'll need to strategically move your character around the board and unleash abilities to take out enemies and survive waves and waves of enemies throughout each run. Now there's also a variety of hero types that you can choose from, and each one of these have their own unique play style and abilities. You'll start with a handful that you can choose from, but over time, as you progress, you can unlock more and more, adding more variety and keeping the game fresh. And after combat, it has somewhat of a Hades-like feel to it, where you'll have different options of power-up bonuses that you can choose from. And so you'll need to strategically choose these in order to best support the build style that you're going for and the character that you're playing as. And again, this is another option to let you choose strategically and keep each run unique. And so again, if you like tactical RPGs with roguelike elements, I would recommend this game as well. Well, again, that wraps up our list of 10 more great Steam deals worth buying in this latest Steam sale. But let us know in the comments below, are you going to pick any of these up? Have you played any of these games before? Let us know your thoughts below. And if you like this video, be sure to hit that like button as it really helps out the channel. And another really cool way you can help support the channel is we actually partnered with a company, Geek Crate, that puts together various bundles. So whether you like things like Harry Potter, Pokemon, Naruto, Marvel, and more, they've got different bundles for everything. They have a subscription service you can take advantage of, or buy just one-time bundle packs of various items. And so if you did want to check that out and help support the channel, head to nerdproblemsgaming.com/geekcrate, and you'll actually get 15% off your order and help support our channel at the same time. So if you want to take advantage of that cool discount, be sure to head there as well. And if you like videos like this on video games, board games, and everything nerdy, check out one of our other videos here. And if you haven't done so yet, be sure to subscribe and turn on the bell notifications to get the latest updates of new nerd videos we put out, and so you can take advantage of future sale videos so you don't miss out on any of these great deals. But once again, thanks for tuning in, and we'll talk to you more soon.